I just bought a lifted Jeep Wrangler that I'm about to do something really silly to. Now, luckily, a previous owner already dumped a ton of money into this thing.
You put like 20 G's in that Super Jeep.
So my Jeep's already lifted. It has 456 gears with locking differentials, and the list goes on and on for more traditional mods. And I've already done a few repairs to get this Jeep mechanically sorted, so now it runs, drives, and shifts great.
Oh my God, it doesn't grind.
Now they say these straight six 4-liter engines are bulletproof, and I plan on putting it to the test by adding the absolute cheapest turbo kit money can buy. We're talking eBay, Alibaba, Temu cheap. Here she is, a turbo in a bag. So this is either gonna be really cool or a potential gigantic Jeep disaster. We're gonna find out, and it all starts with taking off the hood. Good job, babe. Now our super high quality turbo kit is flying here from a land far, far away. So while we wait, let's get right to work and remove this intake manifold to reveal the exhaust manifold that we're gonna be replacing with a shiny header. I have no idea how this is gonna work out, but let's get into this. Well, we gotta start off with the intake, which will no longer be used. Goodbye, Jeep intake. But actually, I should figure out a way to keep the snorkel system going on here. And that ends up on the cowl right here. Because just because we're going turbo doesn't mean we're gonna stop off-roading. I mean, I'm definitely off-roading the Jeep. I can't wait to have this thing hill climbing like a sand dune with the turbo whistling away. That's it falling down from the sand dune. But it'll sound cool falling down the sand dune. Get rid of this support bar, whatever you want to call this. It's getting in our way. All right, relieve tension from the belt. We'll slide this off. I'm gonna remove these power steering bolts. We can go right through the pulley. So if you ever wonder why power steering pulleys have holes in them, it's usually to get to the bolts. Last power steering bolt coming out. Things are so long. Longest bolt ever. All right. Get down there. With the power steering pump out of the way, we have a lot more room. I'm gonna go ahead and spray these down again. I already sprayed all these in the last video as one of my very subtle hints that I was gonna be doing something like this. Did you guys catch any of those? And you know what? We're gonna take this fuel rail off as well. A lot of this stuff might come off. Let's just spray everything. Let's remove this throttle cable. There's only one cable going to the throttle because there's no cruise control on this Jeep or really any other option. That slides off, and then we have a few 10s. All right, okay, lost the spring. Who saw that coming? I'm gonna pop this fuel rail out of the way, and it starts with this connection right here. This locks the fuel line in, and then you have to use a special fuel rail tool. It slides in like so. Push it in like that, it releases a spring, and then you can gently pull off your fuel line like that. We're keeping the tool. Come with me. I popped off all the tabs for the injectors, so now we can just push them there and pull up and disconnect. Oh, these are EV6, nice. These are the newer style injectors. We definitely have to get bigger ones for a turbocharger. I think I found some 60-pounders that could work. So maybe we'll have enough fuel for E85, I don't know. Now we have 4 10s. And we should be able to pull this up now. Come on, injectors, shimmy sham out. These things have probably never been removed, ever. Shimmy! These things are seriously in there. Come on, yeah. All right, we're getting it. It's this one right here. There we go. Okay, you will not defeat me, fuel rail. Yeah, this has been in there forever. Look at the crustification. And yes, crustification is a real scientific word. What's funny is on an engine like the 4-liter, you could almost guarantee these have never been out. But if you're working on like a Mercedes or a BMW or an Audi, like everything's been taken apart before. You know it because they're so unreliable. This engine, bulletproof. Except for boost, I don't know. Now we got a bunch of connectors to pull off. And then we can get to some bolts. Oh yeah. This whole harness comes off like that. That's sweet. Excellent. Now we have the brake booster vacuum. Right there, it's getting bare. Get that out of here. All right, here's our first manifold bolt. Oh, it's turning, not breaking. Yes, that is a huge success. I don't know why I'm celebrating after one, let's see. Oh yes, it's turning, yep. Anytime you can get a fastener that looks like that to turn, it's a win. Guys, they all broke free, like pretty easily too. Look at this, I'm spinning it out with my fingers. That's crazy talk. Look at, she's out. I mean, it's not that crazy. This thing is not rotted out like all the other Jeeps I looked at, so it makes sense. Just kind of look dirty. It honestly is probably just dirt from off-roading. That's what you do with a Jeep. Oh, this manifold's kind of loose. Probably missing one bolt somewhere. All right, well, it looks like there's some bolts in the bottom that we can't get to from the top, and we can't get to them from the bottom unless we remove the catalytic converters. And all of this exhaust will be getting replaced anyway, so it needs to go right now. I have our socket hooked up right here. Woo! I got it. All right. Cats are loose. O2 sensor's unplugged. We're gonna disconnect the exhaust from that flange there. And to do that, we have to take off this cross member for the transfer case and transmission. Hang on, let me show you guys something much easier to install than working on these manifolds on the Jeep. And that would be this, my new phone mount from my friends at ProClip USA. These things are the best. I've been using these mounts for 3 years now, and they're in most of my fleet, like my E55 AMG wagon, my Ford F-150, and of course, my Nissan GTR has a ProClip mount as well, and I absolutely love the positioning of this one. It's out of the way of everything, and I get to use this with my tuning software as well. And you know what other vehicle has a ProClip mount? My wife's Cadillac Escalade, like the original ProClip mount. Look at that. It's right there ready for boosted launches. Have you done any boosted launches today?
I did drive here on the expressway, so I had to merge.
ProClip mounts are simply the best because they are super sturdy and are designed specifically for your car and your phone. These are not cheap universal mounts, so they look more like a factory option than a cheap afterthought, and they're made from high quality ABS plastic and not cheap injection molded plastic. Those holders are the worst. ProClip USA uses a unique two-part system that takes minutes to install. Here is the base, and it's made specifically for my TJ Jeep Wrangler, and it snaps in like this. After you screw in the holder pedestal, this is the phone holder, and it's made specifically for my Android phone, and of course they make them for iPhones too. Screw this on, slide in your phone, and you're done. Before I ripped the Jeep apart, I took it on a little adventure, and look at how solid these mounts are. I'm bouncing a lot. Phone mounts not. This thing is rock solid. They don't move under the most extreme conditions, and they also swivel and work great for tuning and logging software. Now I'm gonna leave you guys a special link down below, and my coupon code for this one is LegitStreet. That's gonna get you 15% off. It's limited time, so definitely take advantage. These make an excellent Christmas gift. Not only can you buy one for someone, but you can install it and then surprise them with it. So you're gonna love them. Check them out. Back to the Jeep. We have 6 side bolts like this. Nice threads. We have a few 13s for the mount. One more 13, this thing should come off. Oh, that's heavy. Oh yeah, it's off. Oh, got these little spacers. That's what they did to kind of like fix the pinion angle after lifting it. We'll have to put those back. Jeez, this is one heavy beast. Oh. Okay. Jeez, how did that work? That's crazy. Big difference with the battery there. I just swapped it out and I got it, at least one of them. Oh yeah, okay, she's about to fall. We got one hanger hanging on. How did that not break? It's loose though, very loose. Okay, that's falling. Oh, yeah. Okay, ow, yes. Exhaust coming out. Woo! Yeah. All right. That wasn't bad. Look at all the room we have now. Giving everything a spray down. We just have these 3, I believe, and they should come off. Not gonna lie, a little ridiculous. They have to remove basically the exhaust to get the intake manifold off. It's not cool, but it is what it is. Ah, there we go. Muffler. Hopefully I can snake this thing. I don't want to have to cut you. This has to come out without cutting. All right, I made that last part look easy. I turned the camera off for like 5 minutes. It was just me basically struggling for 5 minutes. You can get this out, but you have to use words that I don't use on this channel because we're a family channel.
Do you kiss your mother with that mouth?
The exhaust is out, and this is pretty much going in the garbage. This muffler is kind of rotted out. And you know this thing's going to fluid for a custom exhaust at some point. So goodbye, muffler. These weren't too bad to break loose. Now I got the ratcheting wrench on them. I mean, I couldn't imagine if this was a straight up Midwest vehicle. I mean, I'm doing this with fingers here, the people. It's crazy. Gotcha. Say hello to a freeze plug. Okay, and I learned from the last video from the comment section that in Pennsylvania, they do use a ton of road salt. So I had mentioned in that video that there were some areas that don't, and I thought maybe this one had lived in one of those areas because it's not all rotted out. So I don't know, but a lot of people from Pennsylvania told me they do use road salt. So all I can say is that they just maintain this thing. Maybe they were driving around and actually cleaning off the frame, you know, when it got salty. I don't know. So even though this is a straight 6, it has 2 separate exhaust manifolds. Look at this one. We can sneak out of here. Yep, it's coming. There we are. Yeah, separate exhaust manifolds. Weird. Yes, this thing is falling out now. Awesome. Did I leave anything attached? No, I didn't. Here's our intake manifold. See ya. Here is our last exhaust manifold. Just gonna hang up on this stud right here. Shimmy sham, there we go. Okay. All right, well, here you go. I have a complete Jeep Wrangler exhaust and an intake manifold. We might actually be replacing that. Now, this wasn't in the actual listing for the turbo kit at all, but just searching the internet for any information, I did find out that we might need the intake manifold from a 97 to 99 Wrangler. We also might not. We found like one post saying maybe you need this. Luckily, we found one with the fuel rail for like 65 bucks. So I'm like, let's just get it here just in case. And the icing on the cake is that it had this extra fuel rail because I am gonna remove this right now and we're gonna send it over to Fluid Motor Union. They're gonna weld in a 6AN male fitting right here so we can run a full return fuel system. That'll be for a later video, but we might as well get started now. This thing is a little rusty. Oh, that's okay because we have a sandblast cabinet that totally saves me a lot of time. Ow, that almost killed my finger. Wow. Yeah, that's dangerous. Hey, we got an extra throttle bracket. Great. All right, I need to send this rail out, so we're just gonna bend that for now. Jeez, these things have definitely never been off. Oh, yes. All right, we're gonna pull all these injectors off. We're not gonna be using these. They're the old design anyway, and we can make this look real pretty. Look at our beautiful valves, port injection for the win. And here are the exhaust valves, a little harder to see. But here you have it. Here's our straight 6 engine block. And this engine has been around, I think, since the 50s. It was an AMC engine, and then Jeep or Chrysler or whatever bought AMC, and they continued to use this engine for literally like 50 or 60 years. It was eventually replaced with a V6 in the next generation Jeep, so 2007, and that was like the V6 minivan engine, so everybody was kind of upset that we got away from the straight 6. I myself included, this is a fantastic engine, but the problem was emissions. You know, they couldn't run this old of an engine for much longer as it wouldn't meet emissions standards like the newer minivan engine. So now that we have the manifolds off, we could install the header, and the stuff came in. And I saved the unboxing for you guys. Let's go check it out. Behold, the world's cheapest Jeep Wrangler complete turbo kit in a box. You know, $1,250 for everything that is in this box. I'm gonna guess maybe this is the intercooler. I'm completely wrong. Wow, it's the header. So remember, this is a straight 6 engine, so there's only one exhaust manifold. Oh, come on, how is this gonna be? It's gotta be like so thin and cheap. It's actually pretty heavy. Okay, I mean, the welds they're like $1,250 like Temu, eBay welds, but check it out. There you have it. You know, not like a pretty TIG welded bead, but it'll probably work. That's what you get. That's what it looks like. They're definitely shiny though, although this will probably burn off like right away when we start this thing. If these primaries even remotely line up, who knows? Oh, here's an exhaust pipe, or no, this is an intercooler pipe. Shiny. Or is this an exhaust? No, this could be exhaust. Yeah, no. This is the actual turbo flange where the turbo sits. Wow, it has a V-band. This looks good. Okay, and then I'm assuming the wastegate would go right here. They were laying them down in the factory. That's totally in the United States when they made that. Yeah, we have lots of other parts, but I'm not gonna make you wait any longer for the turbo. So we have some gaskets and stuff. That's nice. And here it is. Racing. Oh, this is awesome. This is so generic. I didn't even notice this. Racing parts turbocharger. That's it. Okay. I mean, I guess they're not wrong. Here she is, a turbo in a bag. And oddly enough, this looks just like my GMC Typhoon turbo. Like I could probably bolt this right on. It has the exact same wastegate setup in the back here. But yeah, here it is. It does indeed spin, and it spins well. There's no shaft play whatsoever. Like it's really nice. And I mean, this has to be one of the most expensive parts of the turbo kit, I would imagine. I don't know, but you can see it's got a blank face here. I'll probably engrave something in there, but there's our turbo for our Jeep Wrangler. What's this hefty little fella? Intercooler? Yeah. So this is an air-to-air intercooler. It's nice. It's really nice. Nice welds. I mean, yeah. Okay, I could see this cooling some air. Keep this in the box. I don't want the fins to get messed up. More boxes. Okay, here's like the mother load of miscellaneous. So we have what looks to be the oil feed, oil return for the turbo, lots of silicone couplers, lots of hose clamps, and this kit comes with the wastegate and the blow-off valve and a turbo timer, which is really weird. Oh, here's our air filter. Okay, it's blue, cool. This says 38 millimeter on it. Oh, yes. So here is our wastegate. Definitely a no name. It has no name on it whatsoever, but here's the wastegate valve. There's a diaphragm in there. Okay. This should be our blow-off valve. Yeah. Oh, it's got a little horn on it. Cool. Man, if this turbo kit works, this is gonna be so cool. Especially when we go to the sand dunes and we're climbing and it's like, whee! Oh, wait, that's a blower. I mean, whoosh. I don't know. I can't do sounds, all right? I'm not like Robin Williams over here. Here's our super no-name and generic, very chrome blow-off valve. All right, so here, check it out. They gave us a turbo timer. This is such an old school thing to do. So basically the idea here is that when you shut your car off, you want it to idle for like a minute to let oil flow through the turbo and cool it off, especially if you just got done beating on it. It's something that we don't really use anymore, but here it is. I think this is leftover turbo timer stock from like 1992. Kind of cool. I don't know what this is, but hopefully it's to mount the turbo. That was one thing I was worried about, especially when you're using a actual turbo manifold, is that they crack. So I don't know what this is, but it's like a thick plate. Wow, look at this. This is great. Here's another piece of the exhaust. It's a flex pipe, but everything is V-banded and welded. Wow, I mean, like, this is nice. It's heavy too. Dude, is this really gonna work? I just can't believe it. It's the moment of truth. There'll be many, but is this thing even going to fit onto our engine? I hope it does, because we just did a ton of work here, and I don't want to go back to stock. Okay, it's over the studs. No way. Is it kind of hitting the motor mount? I don't know, but it's bolted up. We have a turbo manifold on a Jeep Wrangler. Now, I don't know exactly if we need to run that older style intake manifold. I emailed the company that maybe makes the turbo kit or distributes it. It's very difficult to figure anything out with that. But they didn't give me a reason. They just said you might need it. I'm like, I don't get that, but let's just see if we might need it. Try and get this guy back in. Get in there. Manifold, almost there. I mean, I don't know why you would need the new one yet. This looks fine. Huh. Let's try and get some bolts in here and see what the deal is. The only thing I could imagine is that this manifold hits the exhaust manifold or something, but I'm gonna get a couple of these bolts back in. I know they're crusty, but the threads are nice and they didn't give us new ones, so we'll clean these up. Yeah, let's tighten this up and see what's hitting. I think I figured out why you have to run a different intake manifold. You can see a clean spot right here on the intake gasket. So this whole manifold needs to shift forward, but if we take this out, you get a better look at it. The intake is hitting the flange for the exhaust manifold. So I don't have an explanation on why we needed this, but I think that's it. This is what the older intake manifold on. It does look like there's a little bit more room on the bottom here, so it wouldn't like heat soak as much. The bottom of the original one is just a little fatter in that area. So even with this older manifold, we can't get it to line up on the dowel right there. It's literally exactly the same as this manifold. But I think if we ground down some of the flanges, it would move over a little bit. We're waiting to hear back from an email, so I'm just mocking up some of this exhaust. Either way, the header pipe looks like it's in a good spot, and so we have this tube here. And then this one either goes this way and this way, or maybe this way, which looks to make more sense. It could also have the flex joint on this side. Zero installation instructions. There's nothing out there. No matter which way that pipe goes, this air box has to be removed. I'm gonna get rid of this bar as well. We have some taped up wiring for these lights that don't work. We'll get those to work at some point. Not now. I just want to turbocharge my Jeep. So we'll just kind of get this stuff out of the way. The Jeep just folds in half without these thin little bars. There's a nut, I believe, inside of here that we need to get to. See the condition of this air filter. Not that it matters anymore, but oh, it's got one of these little pre-filter things on there. That's kind of cool. It's built into the air filter. Nice. We have a big hose going to the intake, and look at this. Looks like they use electric conduit fittings to get this in there. This is not factory at all. Okay, yeah, we'll figure something better out for this. It's no good. Let's get this whole snorkel out. Getting in our way right now. Goodbye, factory airbox. You've done a very good job filtering our air. We're no longer needed. Well, unless this turbo kit thing doesn't work out. There's so many unknowns right now. All right, we just gained a lot of room though. Let's see if that pipe fits in here. I brought the turbo into the mix so we can kind of work backwards and figure out where all this piping goes. Since we have no instructions, I'm just back on the eBay listing. They have these all over the place for different prices. Mine was $12.50, same looking kit. But hang on, you gotta see this. This is so funny. On the Jeep that they picture, look at that. It's just all rotted out and destroyed. That's what they chose to use for the example picture of this kit. But we have turbo facing like that. Right there seems to be the pipe in question, so it bolts to the exhaust like that way. Is that the same on this one? Yeah, I guess. And then here, okay. Yeah, I can't exactly tell. I have this bracket that they give us. It's super thick. I think that's for the turbo. So this kit comes with no hardware at all. So I had to find some random bolts here. And I do believe this turbo support goes on the outside somewhere like that. But check it out. I have 3 out of the 5 bolts, and I can't get this one in because it's totally not cut right at all. You can see it's on an angle, and so is that. They don't line up, so we'll have to drill this out a little bit to fit. And some other quality type issues, not a huge deal at all, but this doesn't like fit perfectly over the back of the turbo, so yeah. This is the kind of stuff you expect on like a super cheap Chinese turbo kit. I was gonna try and bolt the turbo in, but I really have no idea where that brace goes, so we're gonna go with this idea again and see where the pipe ends up to see where the flange is gonna be for the turbo. I think it's gonna feed in somewhere down here, and maybe do a little U-turn or something. Yeah, okay, so maybe. Does this make any sense? This could be it. I think this is gonna go like that, and we'll get a V-band on here just kind of loose. Nice they gave us some V-bands. Not all. Okay, just get the nut on there a little bit, like that. We have V-band number 2, and we'll snug these up. This is where our pipe is ending up here with the T4 flange. And here is our turbo. In theory, it should go right there. That's it. We turbocharged the Jeep. So as far as this turbo brace, I believe it goes right here. I mean, we'd need a much longer bolt for the alternator, but I think it shares the alternator bracket. So it would go there, and then with our downpipe flange, it should line up, yeah, something like that. I think that's it, guys. I think that's it. And yes, the battery's disconnected or we'd be electrocuting stuff. If I can get a really long alternator bolt, we might be able to mount this right now. Please don't break. Oh man. You ever run into a snag and you're like, not now, I'm trying to figure stuff out. I can't go to sleep until I know that we have a turbo. Well, and an intake manifold. By the end of today, I have to have the intake manifold figured out and the turbo mounting thing figured out. And then I think we'll be good. I can sleep, I can rest. Fire is coming out for the first time during this project, so there's a nut back there, so we're gonna heat the nut up. Heat expands, so if that nut expands, it should make this bolt a lot easier to come out. If you ever see guys like just heating up the head of the bolt like that, that's not the best idea. It's not, you're not doing anything. You're kind of making things worse. You gotta heat up the outside, just remember that. Yes, it's turning. Oh. All right, heat. Science, it works. So we're looking for a bolt that's longer than this in my junk drawer. Welcome to my junk drawer, by the way, people. It's gotten really, well, junky, quite honestly. Wait a minute, what is this? Oh, this is a long, super long starter bolt. That'd be cool. Yeah, it's longer. Is it the same thread? It's the same thread. Look at this, a starter bolt from my Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Okay, that's tight. Do we have enough meat for the bracket? Definitely fits over nicely. Yeah, we're a little short on threads. I still might need to find a longer bolt, but for mock-up, this should work. So we'll get a nut on this end here to hold it firm. There we go. Looking good. We still have to finish clocking this turbo, but that doesn't really matter for what we're trying to do right now, which is see if this thing even remotely fits without, you know, shocking the alternator, because it's really right on the alternator. Just grab some random bolts for this flange and just get some nuts on the bottom. I can't get anything to line up, so I'm gonna try and bolt this up off the car. Okay, I think I got it started. It's a really cheap kit, guys, really cheap. And at the end of the day, they're just pipes, right? I mean, I don't know, for being a cheap kit, they give you a really thick mounting bracket. Slide these up. These are totally different bolts, but whatever. All right, that's good enough. Now let's see if we can get this to work. So now we're gonna slide that bracket over our long starter bolt from the Oldsmobile. This post is like literally in the worst spot ever. And some alternators have the post on the back, you know, like, I don't know, man, the thing is like totally in my way. Move! I'm at the point right now where I don't know if my Jeep's gonna be turbocharged, at least with this kit. This is just, this stinks. I just pulled this positive cable off the alternator. We have this, and man, if this was just relocated to the back, that would help us. I think this nut will come out. Can we do an alternator stud relocation? Yeah, that's not doing it. Okay, well, right here, let's just take this back cover off. See what we're working with. Oh, it's loose. Okay. Back cover's off. Okay, that's where this lug goes. I wonder what we can do here. I have this kind of mocked up in here, but yeah, it's just no good. This is no good. The other hole for the bracket over here doesn't line up at all. So right now I'm holding it into a good spot. We're gonna center punch. Okay, it'll tell us how far off this hole is. So you can see our center punch right there, and look at how far off this is. That's where they want you to have it. It barely even lines up. It really doesn't. We'd have to hobble that out. But yeah, we need this bracket to be there, and then it would connect obviously to the alternator in a different spot, but it would give us clearance on this alternator, because even if we were to bend this back or figure something out with this stud, before it was basically right on the alternator, and we don't want to heat this alternator up. We'll take care of you, Denso, don't worry. We're gonna use a super old drill press here. See what happens. Good luck, drill bit. Okay, it's cutting. Get a little bit of oil in here. Oh yeah, it's doing work, guys. I mean, it's thick, but it might be kind of cheap metal, I guess. Yeah, it's cutting right through. Look at that, we made it through. Nice. That's great. Let's go see if this works. I was planning on just grinding this entire shoulder off. We don't really need that for support, but let's just see what happens here. Kind of like how the exhaust manifold and the intake is held in, where they're just using like half the washer on the edge of it. That's kind of what we're going for here. I could also tap into this housing and put a bolt here, but I just curious. Will this work? Will this even work? She's tight. She's in there. It's nice looking. Eh? That's all I can say. All right. Yeah, I mean, we're on. Hold on, let me get the nut on there. Okay, I'm screwing the nut on. Oh, that's not bad. I tightened up the nut on the alternator. I still really don't like this, because even with that tight, there's only one connection point here. So if it's supposed to hold the turbo off, if we're off-roading or just driving over potholes in Chicago, I would imagine this thing would loosen up. We need another leg. We need another bracket going somewhere to another point on the engine. We're gonna have to do that. But anyway, right now, I think this is roughly where this would go. So we put our flange on like that, and that's how much clearance we have to the alternator. Would I like more? Yeah, I would. We have about 1/4 inch. That could be okay. I'm gonna bolt the pipes up. We'll just see if the rest of it fit. We got a map auto 2 sensors too, so let's keep it going. So we're running into another issue here where these aren't lining up the best. I mean, I could really force it, but we're still on kind of a weird angle, that's for sure. There's a lot of stress too. I would love to have about this much clearance with the alternator, so I've disconnected. We're gonna take this off and cut this flange off. This is in a dumb spot. We're gonna cut this flange off, hopefully with a Sawzall. Okay, slow. It's kind of working. All right, I made it through finally. Oh yeah, it's cutting. Wouldn't say like butter, but like cheese maybe? Some like thick, aged-dried cheese that you have a hard time cutting. And you end up getting a steak knife to do the job. Cuts like that. The old aged cheese cut. Come on, flange. Gosh, this last little bit is killing me. Ah, it's like a ninja sword. Okay, it's kind of straight. While we have this piece in the LSC fab department, I'm going to make these holes a little bit larger. They were all slightly off. This should fix it. Just one step up on the drill bit. Should cut through pretty easily as my drill gets stuck. We're almost there. There we go. Cool. Here we are with the flange cut off, and I found some nice fancy hardware. Everything is fitting well. So let's mock this turbo back up. I'm hoping this is the best fitment we will have now, and we can angle this a little bit further away from the alternator too. That's the goal. All right, that's lining up. We're getting somewhere, people. We're getting somewhere. I have that one tightened up. Let's see where we're at. Oh yeah, That's a ton of clearance. That's great. With the turbo fitting, we have to figure something out with this intake manifold, which I think is gonna be grinding. So we have the older one on there that doesn't really seem to offer any benefit whatsoever. So we're gonna grind up the one that came on the Jeep, and I'll leave this here so we kind of know where to go. But like we can see these two are hitting. So we'll grind the aluminum right there. Areas like this. And I'm just gonna use my die grinder like so. Take a little bit off of pretty much all of these. I've kind of gone around a little bit on an initial pull, but yeah, hopefully just a little bit on each one will scooch this guy over and we should be good, I hope. We're gonna test fit now. Probably have to do this a few times because I don't want to take off too much material. There we are. It's looking better. I found the issue, guys. It's the bottom of the intake is hitting this primary here, but because we ground everything down, you can see we have a gap in here now and there. So we've gotten the side to side fixed, and this one is in the dowel. This one is not in the dowel yet. We need to grind basically the bottom of the intake over here. We can tell it was hitting right here because I was kind of banging the intake up and down on it. So that header either needs to be dented in, or we need to grind this area here. I marked it with a Sharpie. The problem is this runner right here, it's not like this flange. It's very, very thin. We don't have really any material to work with here. It's time to dent a header. We're gonna heat this thing up a little bit, and we're gonna use a socket to dent it. Check this out. You wanna make the metal more malleable, so we'll heat it up like so. It's funny, the heat actually kind of cleans the header up. That's kind of cool. All right, that's pretty good. Now we're simply going to hit our socket. It's hard to tell, but there's a little dent right there. I'm gonna keep going though. All right, I've got a few more hits in, and we're getting this pretty hot. Changing colors slightly. Perfect. And I'm just kind of going up and down the primary so we can get a nice even spot. The more you can spread the dent out, I think the better. It's getting pretty flat, nice. With the header pretty flat up top on that primary, we're gonna go back together here and see if this fits now. Made Jeep intake manifold professional at this point. It's in and out so many times. No. Yeah, we gotta keep going, guys. It's still hitting the primary. It's just not lining up with the dowel. You can see the front one. It snaps in, you can't lift it up, so. Okay. More hammering. After some more hammering, we have an intake bolted up and it's fitting in the dowels. And now we're gonna use a precision measuring tool, a feeler gauge, if you will. We'll measure the amount of clearance we have. We got about 8 thou in there. And I got a different feeler gauge too. This one's even better. Let's see if we can get this guy in. Oh yeah. We're in there. Cool. It's precision, baby. Precision. We got an intake on. So apparently you don't need the 97, 99 intake, the earlier one. You know, just so you guys know if you're gonna do this to your own car. That one had the exact same clearance issue. So I have no idea why that's needed. Don't waste your money. But one of the other reasons I didn't want to use it is because you get this really nice factory bracket and all your vacuum lines will line back up just like they should. This one had different fittings everywhere. So yeah, just say no to the 97 to 99 intake if you're turbocharging. But if you do have a 97 to 99 Wrangler, you can totally use this. You probably have to do what I did. Now that the intake manifold fits, you know I can't leave it like this. If you guys have seen some of my other videos like the DeLorean and the Typhoon and all the detail videos, this will bother me, even on the Jeep. And I got a sandblast cabinet now, so I kind of just clean everything. First step though, because I don't want all of this grease in my media, we are going to degrease it with this stuff, heavy duty degreaser. Oh, it smells so good. It's probably bad for you, but it smells so good. We're also gonna clean up all of the hardware for the intake because I can't find replacements and those are all thread fine. We're gonna clean up the throttle body too. Just agitate some of this heavy stuff. Yeah, this degreaser works so well. It just turns everything to mush. Oh, look at that. It's already clean. That's sweet. What color should I do this? The natural silver or black? I don't know. The valve cover's black. We'll see. And that's pretty much it for preliminary steps before it goes in the sandblast cabinet, a degrease, and then we dry it off so we don't get water in our media. It's not sand, actually. It's artificial media. It works really well. In the cabinet she goes. The lighting they give you is horrible, but we have the LegitStreetCars Ultra Pen Light. Bam, look at that. Oh, that's great. You can see it all. Oh, this is so fun, guys. I love sandblasting. This thing is gonna look mint. Man, I don't know. The Silver's kind of talking to me right now. Keep me, Alex. Don't paint me black like everything else. Anything but dirty. So clean. We're all done in the sandblast cabinet, and I've pressure washed this clean. It's looking pretty, throttle body included. Our hardware also. Yeah, it does look good this way, but there are a lot of imperfections. We're gonna mint it out. So we're gonna start off, hopefully we're gonna start off with some, oh my gosh, spraying straight down. Ah! Okay, well, I primered these. We're gonna use a little bit of primer, which in itself looks pretty good. Like this primer is basically like a natural aluminum, paint. So I don't know, guys. Black or silver? Let me know in the comments, and well, you'll know soon because I gotta make that decision now. All right, you wanna know something funny? I messed up. This is the primer. That would be the final coat if we were gonna go with the cast coat aluminum. But anyway, the primer kind of looks very similar, so it's primered. I've decided we're gonna do the cast coat aluminum. We'll do the throttle body and these bolts in black though. Well, you guys already kind of saw what this looks like when I accidentally sprayed it out thinking it was primer. But yeah, this looks so nice. Just a little bit better than what we started with. Ooh, look at the cool Chrysler star. Got our black going down. This is gonna look sweet. Light coat, let's not get carried away. We have the intake drying, the throttle body is done, all the bolts looking pretty. So with that drying, we can move on to some more work on the hot side. I just finished bolting this up with some new hardware. Let's get underneath and see if we can get this thing to line up better. I've installed our donut gasket here on the header flange. I think this is gonna help kind of locate everything where it needs to be. We did have this bolted up, but it was pretty loose. And it's a pretty thick gasket. It'll space the exhaust out, so we want that in for mock-up. Ow, just hit my head. All right, let's see here. Oh, this is much better. Oh my God, are you kidding me? There we go, bam, that's perfect. All right, that's awesome. So we just had to bring the turbo down a little bit on that side, put the donut gasket in there, now it's lining up. It's not under any stress. And I've clocked the turbo properly, so our drain will clear the body. Awesome alternator clearance. It fits, guys, it fits. Everything's tight underneath there. It's mocked up. It's not all stressed out. Yes, as solid as this is right now, because this end of the bracket only has one mounting point, it could technically pivot, especially if we're off-roading and stuff like that. It has me worried. So I've removed the upper alternator bolt and we're gonna build a bracket from here to there. This will make sense in a minute, but in order for this bracket to fit without another bracket, we need to twist this kind of thick steel. So of course, we're gonna heat it up. I got it nice and red. Now we're gonna use an adjustable wrench like that, and I'm just gonna pull it down, and we are bending steel like that. Pretty much Superman, the man of steel. Okay, there we go. Now we'll have to make some adjustments here for length, but that's how you become a blacksmith from 1654. The reason I needed to make this bend is because we need a flat surface on this side and a flat surface going down here. So if we had a piece like that, the only way to do it would be to add another L bracket over there. But I think this is kind of cooler, a little bit more medieval, if you will. I drilled a hole and cut this to length. And so this is kind of what I'm going for. We'll have to put a little sleeve in here, but right now we can figure out exactly where to go. So we can slide this back and forth, line it up directly with this bolt that we're gonna use. Right about there. Give it the old one eye. Precision measuring equipment. Yep. And then we kind of need it to bend around the alternator. So we might use a little bit more heat. Could actually probably bend this pretty good just right on the alternator. I've been working on the railroad all night long. I don't know, it's like a good blacksmith song from like the 1600s. I don't know why I came up with a railroad song. I don't know about blacksmithing from the 1600s. Who am I kidding? I just know about Jeep turbos, really. And we're gonna thread this in, and now I'm just gonna bend it. We're gonna horseshoe it around the alternator as much as we can. Okay, and I'm gonna bend it a little bit more here in the vise, kind of get some nice curvature here out of it. Okay, it's getting a little hot over there. All right, let's see what we got. I'm pretty happy with this. It's not touching the alternator. We have it kind of horseshoed around it. Now we just need to make a mark where our hole is gonna be on this side. With a little bit of finesse, I got my horseshoe so it clears the alternator. I cut part of this off. This is generally flat and lined up. We're getting there. And right now I just need to take a measurement, the distance between this bracket and there. Okay, so we're pretty much right at 1 inch. So we're gonna cut out 1 inch of this sleeve right here. Here's our 1 inch sleeve going on like so. And let's see if we line this up right. All right, perfect. So this is actually the factory lower bolt. The factory top bolt is really short, but this will work. We got room. Now we need to center punch this just perfectly. If I go too far this way, the whole bracket is basically scrapped. I have one shot at getting this right. So I'd rather be more on this side. All right, here we go, guys. Okay. I put a longer bolt in here with a nut so we have a stud sticking up. And, oh yeah. And then we'll do a nut on top. All right, moment of truth. Did I, center punch properly? Oh yeah, perfect. Here, let me show you. Kind of hard to show you, but we have our clearance there with the exhaust, and we have our alternator clearance, and now it is impossible. This is steel. It is impossible, and this thick plate down here, this thing is positively mounted to the engine. It will not move at all. No matter how much rock crawling and hill climbing and shenanigans, maybe some jumping that we do, the turbo will never move. You know I'm gonna paint this bracket. I already primed it. We're gonna go with black. A little sleeve too, don't wanna forget. Our first coat. And at this point, we've mocked everything up. So for the hot side, we're done. Now we can just take it all off. And I've also marked where the O2 sensors will go. One will go here and one on the other side. So we will still retain 2 factory front O2s that are reading each bank, so to speak, each 3 collectors. We have most of the hot side down. I gotta remove that so we can have it welded. But before we go down, I wanna take this crusty old girl off. It's just a bunch of 11s or 7/16. All right, let's drain this oil. So we didn't do this in the last video because we have to take the oil pan off. It is damaged, but also we gotta put a return bung for the turbo in there. So that's why I didn't do it in the last video. Watch, there's just like chunks of piston in here. Just kidding, this thing runs awesome. Oh, and check this out, guys. You know how I always make a mess like draining oil? Well, I finally got one of these little pads and a larger, oil drain. Actually, a subscriber sent this out to me. He emailed me that he shipped it the day that I was expecting this to come in from Amazon. So I think this is his, and I returned that one? I don't remember, but thank you. Some nasty looking ones too. I think I'm on the last bolt. Oh yeah. Oh, wow, that's nice. There we are. Can you imagine if there's just like chunks of metal and bearing material in here? Oh, what is that? Oh my God, it literally is. What? What is that? What is that? No, 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 no. This is not the Typhoon. This isn't that kind of series. This engine is fine. Not touching this engine. I don't care what I find in this thing. What is that though? What is this? Oh, okay, this is not metal. Oh my God. It looked straight up like flakes of bearing, just like the Typhoon, but it's all disintegrating. It's just crust. It's literally crust. It's all this was falling into the oil pan. What are you trying to do? Give me a heart attack here? It's a straight 6. You can't have any issues ever. You have very high expectations. But anyway, it definitely has a lump from something hitting it. X marks the spot, I guess. We're lucky this didn't break. Well, for the last guy. There is something we need to borrow from the Typhoon. That would be this mat. And don't worry, you guys are gonna see a Typhoon update soon. Old bath mats are key though. When you're working on engines, you just put them right here, like that. And now if it wants to drip, it drips on the bath mat, and it's really nice and comfy too. Our pickup's in really nice shape, and here is the bottom end, the super long crankshaft and all of our rods. And there's our camshaft too, right there. Super, super long. So just a simple 2-bolt main, nothing fancy in here. But this is really cool. It has a girdle. Apparently this girdle was made in 1983, I don't know. But it's really thick, and this connects the main caps. It's kind of like a subframe connector for an engine. Well, we didn't have any leaks from this gasket, but we're definitely going to replace it. Ah, did I get anything on my face? Jeez. There we are. Old gasket, meet bath mat. I have our turbo oil drain bung getting welded into the oil pan. We have 2 bungs going into the header right now. So while we wait, we need to clean this area up, get rid of this gasket. We got a brand new one, of course. Now look at this. This cracked too, probably when we take it out. But look at this, we need some cleaning to be done. Get out of here. So here's what the cylinder head mating surface for the intake and exhaust ports looked like before. Pretty nasty and gross. And after a wee bit of elbow grease, utilizing some brushes, some chemicals, and a vacuum, we now have a cylinder mating surface for the intake and exhaust that looks like this. And yes, it doesn't look very pretty right now. It's iron, but this is clean. This is perfectly flat and clean. We can sit here forever grinding stuff down and making it look shiny for no reason, but it's completely unnecessary, especially on a Wrangler. I mean, look at the engine. This is just what a steel engine on a Wrangler that's been used, like a Jeep looks like. It's all good. You want that. It's like patina. But we can at least cover this up with a shiny new gasket. Slide it over the studs. Oh, that's great. Multi-layer steel, that is the way to go. It's really nice. And no matter if you're getting a cheap turbo kit or even headers, a lot of them will come with this style gasket. It's really thick. Just throw these in the garbage, guys. Go with the factory steel. They seal better. Those are cheap. They'll blow out. They're a pain in the butt. Just literally throw them away. The header is back. It now has 2 O2 sensor bungs, and that's because that's how the factory did it with these manifolds. So each collector gets its own. Here's where we put the oil feed return in the new oil pan. So those are going on in a minute. Here's the factory oil pressure sender, and it used to screw right into the block, but I put a fitting in there so it screws into that, and we have our oil feed. So this is gonna supply the oil pressure to, well, this is the bottom of the turbo, to this side, the top of the turbo. We'll clock this here in a minute, but this is gonna come over here. It's gonna be awesome. Right now we have to install our return. Oil drain going on. They do give us a nice adapter. This is my 10AN fitting though. They give you a barb in the kit, but I wanna do something a little better. Tighten this guy up. All right, oil drain done. Now we can clock this properly, and all this stuff moves independently, so I think that's gonna go there. So with the turbo straight up and down, the drain hits, you know, the body of the Jeep, but that's okay. We can actually clock it like this. So now the drain points straight down, and our feed will be at a slight angle. You can actually go up to about 45 degrees on that, so we're well within spec. So that's what our feed's gonna look like. And so now we just gotta make a -10AN line to go to the pan, but we should get the pan in first so we know exactly how long to make it. I've cleaned up the gasket mating surface, and they give you installation dowels for the gasket, which is nice. And I cleaned that up because, you know, I like to clean. We're gonna add a little RTV into the corners like that. Now we can slide our gasket over these dowels. Back one as well. Very nice. Time for a brand new oil pan, which was needed, turbo or no turbo, because of the dent. Yes. And I did clean up the hardware here, but I didn't paint it. Not that crazy. With a couple bolts holding it in loosely, we have this, which I cleaned up, and it is rubber on the bottom, metal here, and I believe this is a dust and or water shield for the transmission, possibly. It's definitely not sealing the engine, but it goes just like that. And yeah, I think it just seals the connection here into the bell housing. I can definitely see that being important on a vehicle that's meant to go off-road. This new oil pan is looking amazing. I definitely want to get some kind of skid plate though to protect it. I just buttoned up all the bolts. It's header time. This butte is going back home, into its new home. It is unfortunate we won't see any of this at all. This will be completely covered up by the intake, but wait till you see the intake with the black throttle body on it. It looks sweet. Bam. This bolt here only holds in the exhaust, so we can get that on right now. Here's the bottom side. You'll never see it. Looks pretty sweet though. And I am gonna do a little bit of heat management here. So this is basically, you know, the header gets really close, obviously, to this area. So we're gonna put this shield on there. It's a really thick one with a very aggressive adhesive. So this should stay right here. And just, yeah, this fits so nice. Look at that. Perfect. I actually had this left over from the Hellcat, and now it's going on another Dodge Chrysler type of product. Here's our black throttle body. Looking sweet. I like this. I like it a lot. Let's put it on. I ended up cutting some of this heat shielding out so it fits around the primaries, and now it is ready to go in. And why didn't you guys tell me I had black stuff all over my face? I just cleaned it. I'm trying to look good on camera, you know? Here we go. Beautiful intake going back to its home. Don't worry, I was never gonna replace you. I didn't want the 97 intake either. We did get a fuel rail out of the deal though, so that's kind of cool. All right, looking good. Let's get some bolts. Throttle body's on, sensors are in. Just plugging everything in. We have vacuum lines going on. Brake booster right here. This is what I'm talking about with keeping the original intake. Everything just fits perfect. Throttle, cable. All right, now we're definitely getting bigger fuel injectors, but for now, we gotta start this thing up with a turbo. So we're just gonna go ahead and put the factory ones back in. I did replace the lower seal since they looked pretty crusty. We don't need any fuel leaks on our turbo Jeep. This guy just slides right in. Injectors popping like that. We got injectors getting plugged in. Fuel line going on. Fuel line clip riser going on. That's what it's called. She's solid. This is looking great. I love Jeep.
I love lamb.
They don't even cut their own zip ties. That's pretty awesome. Look, this one's just kind of dangling away. Oil feed is tightened up, looking good. We have our freshly painted alternator bracket going on. We'll leave it loose though for now. I also fixed the issue with the alternator stud being so long. I chopped it down, but I had to get a new rubber isolator. This fit perfectly. And just for a little added protection, we have a rubber sleeve right there. Cool. Now we have to change out our oil filter anyway because we're doing an oil change, but this thing is pretty big. And really it was the length that was the issue.
That's what she said.
This was coming a little close to touching the pipe. This one's a little bit shorter, so it'll give us some more clearance. So on with the new we go. AMSOIL, of course. Normally I use high temp RTV on this connection, but we're gonna go with the metal gasket for now, just in case the system needs to come apart, you know, time or two. Because, you know, this is a Chinese turbo. We don't know if any of this is gonna work. I need to install our wastegate, but look at the threads here for one of the ports. I don't even know what that is. It's messed up though. This thing, I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna run this. It also goes in there, which is horrible placement for the wastegate. You want this to kind of go with the flow of the exhaust, not just like stuck on the side of the pipe. So for now, I'll put it in as mostly just like a block off so we don't have an exhaust leak, but yeah, I don't like it. This dumb wastegate is on. Bad spot, bad wastegate, bad placement, bad everything. I'm getting rid of it. But something I'm not getting rid of is this sweet oil drain. Look at that. You could totally go with rubber oil hose for an oil drain. A lot of people do it with clamps, but that is stronger, better, and it looks sweet. You know you're getting close when the engine oil is going back in. We are using 10W30. AMSOIL has a high mileage engine oil as well. Drink up, little buddy. If you guys want to get 25% off of all AMSOIL products, I'll drop my link down below. It ships right to your house. Well, I think we're ready to start this. I've looked everything over. We have oil, everything's connected. We're ready. It's Turbo Jeep Wrangler time. I hope. First start with the turbo. Okay, it's the fuel rail, it's drained, don't worry. Ooh. You can hear a turbo. Ah. It's spinning, it's spinning. Don't stick your hand in there though, that would be bad. Get out of here. Woo! Obviously we got an open downpipe, if you want to call it that. No way! Woo. Oh, clutch fan needs to go. That smoke. Yeah, and I know stuff should smoke because we have like oil, but that was like a high concentration of smoke. Maybe a little electrical smelling? That would make no sense. But hang on. Yeah, it smells a little electrical. Not gonna lie. What would be burning electrically, right? Oh, unless we drop something on the header. All right, investigation on time. It was zip tie that fell on the header and it was just burning plastic. All right, let's lift it up and look around. Just saying, kinda cool. All right, everything is looking good. Surprisingly, we have no exhaust leaks. I just figured, you know, cheaper V-bands, exhaust leaks, but nothing. The donut's good, it's solid. We do have to eventually fix the fact that it's touching the starter solenoid, but hey, overall, it's not bad. She's got a turbo, that's for sure. Woo! All right, now, the big question. Does the turbo spin when we shut it off? It should for a few seconds at least. Let's find out together. Is it spinning? Is it spinning? Is it spinning? Is it spinning? It's still spinning, yes! All right. I mean, it's no ball bearing turbo, but you like to see that. And this one, I mean, honestly, it feels great. There's no shaft play, nothing. We have no oil leaks. We have no exhaust leaks. It runs beautifully. Obviously, there's, you know, a few things left to do, like build a complete exhaust, which it's going to Fluid Motor Union for, so you know we're gonna get something good there. We don't have a cold side on the vehicle yet, which we will in the next video, and I am going to try and drive my turbocharged Jeep Wrangler for the very first time in that one as well.
This is a TJ, right?
Yeah.
It's Turbo Jeep.
That is really good. It is a TJ Turbo Jeep. That's awesome. All right, well, I guess we've pretty much nicknamed the Turbo Jeep. That's awesome. Good job, Max. Oh my God, I'm spinning my turbo right now because I just can't get over this. Anyway, all right guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start filming the second video pretty much right now, even though it's really late. So in the meantime, I hope you really enjoyed this one. I hope you're liking the Turbo Jeep series thus far. And if you are, give it a big thumbs up, share the video with your friends and family, and subscribe if you haven't already. We are at like almost 1.3 million views. And by views, I mean subscribers. So help me get there. Click on that button. It's totally free and really helps me out. But most importantly, have a fantastic day. I'll see all of you in the next video. Focus, focus, focus. Nope. I've popped up all of the tabs for the injectors. Okay. I popped off all the tabs for the injectors. Now, one thing I did learn because, now this wasn't, you can see right here a clean spot. You can see right here. So even with this older manifold, we can't get this depth. So even with this older manifold, we can't get it to line up on the dowel, right? We can't get it to line up. We can't get it to line up on the, well, with the turbo fitting, we have to get, with the turbo finally fitting, we have to get this intake manifold situation, you know, done. With the turbocharger fitting, we have to get this intake manifold because all the all right, we're gonna go for the Sawzall. We're gonna try out the Sawzall here. We're gonna cut this flange off. I got some, let's see. All right, so we have this turbo pipe bolted. It's just a bunch of 11s. I have a bung getting welded into the, so let's hook up, so let's make, yeah. This wastegate, stupid wastegate is on this thing. This dumb wastegate is on.